Welcome back to Bullet Catcher Gaming, the place for the Ghost Recon community to have their voices heard. Now, we're not going to hang around on this one. We are going to jump straight into it. We're going to give you today our opinion of what the gunsmith should be going forward in the new Ghost Recon game. I'm joined by Sandy, one of our staff and admins on the Discord. I'm sure you all know Sandy by now. I think the thing that we really want to get across here is what we feel the community has already asked for. These are things that, don't get me wrong, that we both want. But at the same time, these are things that we have been said to us time and time again. What we'd really like for you to do is to obviously have a listen to what we're saying and then say, have we got it right? Have we gone too far? Is it not enough? Or have we missed key things out? Because what we want to do is follow this up with a more in-depth version where we can look at the things that you're asking for and then literally put together the ultimate gunsmith. And then once we've done that, we will pass that information on to Ubisoft and say, this is what we want. So, Sandy, thank you so much for joining us. Do appreciate it, buddy. So, I'm going to get into this straight away. So, I'm going to start with one that has come up over and over again, and I think a lot of it is frustration. People want any gadget that can go on your weapon to be able to go on any rail. Now, not to restrict that this can have this can't have this. We obviously want it to be realistic. So you're not going to put a grenade launcher on your 1911. But for example, any assault rifle, as long as the rail is big enough, you should be able to put the shotgun underneath it, like the master key or whatever. It should be anything. Anything should be able to fit onto that weapon. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if it's especially with modern weapons, if it's got a Picatinny rail system, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to place specific items where you want it on the weapon. If for the majority of, for example, Breakpoint, the majority of the stuff was mere cosmetic anyway, so there's no reason why you couldn't place the pet box on the top or the left rail or the right rail. But and I think deeper that goes into your scopes. Guy, I myself, I'm a victim of it. I hate with a passion the fact that you're restricted on which scopes you can put on weapons.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the other thing that people have said to us over and over again is that they would like to be able to move the gadgets or any attachments. Sorry, I don't know why I'm calling them gadgets. Attachments anywhere on the rail. So if you want your scope further down the rail, you should be able to move it further down. And obviously people mention other games to us. A lot of people, the two games I'd say that are mentioned the most is Tarkov, and the other actually is 2019's Modern Warfare. I like both of those have a very intricate gunsmith, but they're quite different at the same time. I think what we want from the next Ghost Recon one is something that just does everything that we're asking for. I don't think we need to say, let's copy that, let's copy this. Have its own thing, but put these features in. And what do you think about moving the benefits of being able to move them up and down the rail, do you think, for people?
Yeah, I mean, I think ideally, there's the two you mentioned, and another one that I quite like to look to was Ground Branch, where it physically gave you that option when you were putting stuff on a rail. You had the whole rail and you could choose exactly which point you wanted to put on. And again, I think customization wise, it just plays into that fantasy almost that, especially for guys that own rifles in real life, that you're recreating maybe something that you take downrange with or you take on range days, or just to make you feel more immersed.
I agree. I think that is something that we've seen it many times. We've seen people in the Discord talking about this, and on the comments on the YouTube channel, where people talk about their own weapon. I think that's definitely something that people would like. Something really, I'm just going to throw straight in there. You should be able to have a silencer for me on every weapon that is able to have one. In Breakpoint, the no silencers on LMGs definitely frustrated people. I think this kind of goes in with the almost any attachment on any rail. It should also be any silencer on any weapon. I think that's an important one. I'm going to bring up, this is the one that I know that you and I have spoken about before, and many other people have spoken about too. And I think this is my number one above everything else. There should be one blueprint per weapon, and that is it. Yeah. There shouldn't be, like there is in Breakpoint, all these versions of one weapon. You should pick up a blueprint for an M4, and then from that M4, you should be able to change pretty much everything on that weapon to turn it into the version of that M4, whether it could be any option. There's so many variations out there of, say, the M4. You could do this with pretty much everything, AKs, all sorts. I think this is, for me, one of the number one most important things, because it's boring picking up blueprints again and again and again to have all these different variations. What do you think?
I mean, even if they went down the blueprint route for the next game, I would, even if the blueprint itself was just the rail system. But yeah, I agree. Having a baseline M4 and then being able to change that upper receiver to a 416 upper receiver, and then being able to take off the 10-inch rail and put a 6-inch rail on, or changing your 10.3-inch barrel to a 16-inch barrel, that again is going to change. It adds to that immersion that you're building the rifle that you want. And everything, if it can be changed on a real weapon, it should be able to be changed on the game. If you want to change the stock pistol grip to an ergo grip, for example, or you want to put the 416 or the Mark 18 grip on, you should be able to do that.
I agree. Fully interchangeable.
Yeah, and I know we talk about the M4 a lot. But the AK has a somewhat, the AK's got a similar system. Even bullpups like the S80, just one blueprint, you could still make 6 or 7 different variations of that rifle with one blueprint.
Before it slipped my mind as well, we also need to have weapons that sound like real weapons, that like they did in the update. Some of the guns in Breakpoint sound a bit more like kind of airsoft guns. But anyway, getting back to your original point. But this actually comes back to a point that Ubisoft made, which I think what you're saying is we need to be able to almost kind of micromanage our weapons in a way that is much more in depth. In this comment that Ubisoft made ages ago about the AI Teammates update, when they kind of made out that you don't have to micromanage, and that always stuck with me, and I know it did other people too, as if to say, you don't understand, we want to do this, we want to micromanage, whether it's AI Teammates, whatever. We want a gunsmith that we can effectively micromanage. But I want to get on to the point that you just made a minute ago about barrel lengths, because that's something else that needs to be in there. You need to be able to swap out the barrel lengths. If you're going to swap out the weapon parts, barrel lengths is really important, which obviously also is going to mean, I would presume, well, what we would hope is that if you have a longer barrel, the weapon really should be able to shoot further. And we want to actually see that realistically managed within the game mechanics. Do you think that's something that they would be able to do?
I'm hoping on the next gen consoles that is something that they can look at. I had a quick look. I used the M4 platform for this. I had a quick look tonight before we recorded this, and there's a 250 meter difference in effective firing distance on an M4 between a 10.3 inch barrel and a 20 inch barrel. You know, and then I mean the M4's probably got one of the biggest barrel selections that I can think of, going for probably about 7.5 inches at the smallest, up to 20 inches. And I think that should play quite a big part, especially when it comes to weapon ballistics, because I think Ubisoft in the past have got this drastically wrong. You know, and the scope should play into that as well. If I'm carrying a TAC 50 that can fire in real life up to 1800 meters, when I look down that scope, it should, in my eyes, it should zoom in, and I should be able to see up to 1800 meters.
Yeah.
You know, not obviously not by the naked eye, but if I'm using that scope, I should be able to see that 18. You know, I should be able to see targets at 1800 meters away. Okay,
Well,
yeah, I might have to aim high, but
yeah, no, I agree, and this is the other thing that I think that needs to be incorporated into the gunsmith, even though it's not necessarily gunsmith related. They go hand in hand together. We obviously need to
yeah,
be able to see our targets from a lot further away. We need to be able to engage targets from a lot further away, because that is a massive issue in Breakpoint. It was far
yeah,
superior in Wildlands, which is crazy because it's an older game.
yeah,
It should have improved in Breakpoint and not gone the other way. That is, and I know some people might say that's not necessarily gunsmith related, but I look at it as being gunsmith related because it's about, it's about the
yeah.
distance that your
Just,
bullet can travel and things like that. So for me,
well,
it's an important point that
I
that
mean,
needs fixing.
I look at it this way: if it doesn't matter how how you engage people up to in and over 300 meters, and Breakpoint, it didn't matter if you had an SMG or a sniper rifle. You know, it made no real difference to the gameplay. Whereas, you know, if you've got if you're sitting on the top of a mountain with a TAC 50 or an M82, you know, and you're picking targets, you know, you're picking a target away at 1K, 1200 meters. You know, that's what people want. You know, we didn't want sniper, but you know, like the sniper games, but something at least that feels like that.
No, I totally agree. And we also want to be able to see, instead of, and I know this things that have turned up in the shop, in the store, and things like that before, where you see variations of weapons with different skins and things like that. I don't necessarily want to be able to have to keep buying different weapon skins. You should maybe
Yeah,
be able to create your own weapon skins. I'm not sure they'll go into that much detail, but you should be able to just unlock them in an easier way, a much
yeah,
easier way, and not have to go and re-buy the same weapon again. To
yeah.
me, that's crazy. Like the ACR Brown, that's
Well,
insane to me. It should just be that's just stupid, and I don't like
that
that.
should be a that should be a paint skin. That should
Exactly.
be a
Yeah,
paint
yeah.
skin that's applicable to every weapon.
No separate blueprints and things like that. That's crazy for
Yeah,
stuff like that. Get rid of that. Also, within that, a wrapping, if you want to wrap on your weapon, you should be able to wrap every weapon.
yeah,
Some people don't want it, but it should be there. It should be an option. Gunsmith is massively important for this game to be a success. Yes, of course, we need missions to work and story, and of course, and we'll get into all that on other videos, but in Gunsmith, this game is about, shooting people in multiple different ways, and the Gunsmith is huge. You can tell from the reaction from the community that it means a lot to them. So let's look at
yeah,
some other things. Correct ammo types. This is another
yeah.
issue. The 50,
This is
50 cal doesn't exist in Breakpoint,
yeah.
which is
And
insane. Why doesn't it?
again, the sheer difference in power and distance between a 338 and a 50 cal is tremendous. You know, the different level of damage that a 50 will do to a 338. And you know, it feels like sometimes when you look back at Wildlands, and you could literally one shot helicopters with HTI, and I think it was HTI Muddy Bones. You could literally one shot any vehicle in the game, and then you get the same weapon and breakpoint, and it takes, what, 6, 7, 8 shots to take a helicopter?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. And some people have also said, where we've done testing videos in the past, that their game, depending on maybe what platform they were playing on, their results were different. Now, that to me is insane. That shouldn't happen either. So we need one across the board for all platforms. It needs to be the same and not completely different. So the other thing that I think we should look at is the ability, and this goes down to the basic core of what we were just saying, to be the ability to be able to swap everything on the weapon, but to have a fire rate almost of your choice. If it exists in real life, it should be on that weapon. Ubisoft tended to say you're going to have single shot on this weapon, and it might be single shot only. And it's like, but that's not true in real life. This weapon is fully auto. Why is it only single shot? Or whatever, it could be burst option, whatever. But you should be able to change those triggers out and have them for what you want them. I'm not saying you go and take, like a 229 pistol or something and then make it fully automatic. I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm saying that in the real life weapons, that where they can do these things, they shouldn't, for some unknown reason, be stopped in the actual game from doing things that we know they can do.
Like, one of the strangest ones there was they had this weird tendency for, especially in the M4 platforms, to go, it's either single and full auto or 3-round burst and full auto. But you very rarely, if ever, got single and 3-round burst.
Yeah, I do understand that. I mean, when it comes down to it, we want to be able to change the pistol grips. We want trigger options, we want barrel options, stock options, upper, lower receiver options. We want everything. I mean, and also different rounds. Why not explosive rounds? And subsonic and things like that.
Here's an interesting stat in that for what I was looking up tonight. If you take the honey badger, a honey badger's effective range changes by 200 meters. So, as a standard 6-inch barrel, the honey meter's effective distance changes by 200 meters by changing from subsonic to supersonic.
See, that's huge, and that should be incorporated into the game. Depending on what you're using, then this will make people play the game more. It really will. I know they might sit and think people aren't going to be that interested. They are going to be that interested. They're going to want to sit there and mess around with their gunsmith for hours sometimes before they then jump in. It's the same as why the costuming of your character is really important as well. And we'll go into that.
How many times have you heard people say that they've spent 30, 40 minutes just customising their character before they've even done anything in the game?
Exactly.
And the main option, what Ubisoft seem to fail to realise is the main options you give people, they're happy how you keep them.
Absolutely. And another thing I really want is Canted Sites. I think loads of people want that. Really important. It's used a lot. You see a lot of the Special Forces guys have Canted Sites on their weapons. Makes a huge difference on how you engage short range, long range. We must have Canted Sites. Now, we're going to kind of end the video there. We're not this is just the crux of what we want. You tell us now whether you want these things, whether you think we've gone too overboard, we haven't gone into enough detail, and if not, what kind of detail would you like to see? What other options would you like to see in the gunsmith? You tell us, and then we'll come back and we'll put all of this together. As I said, we'll go through everything that you guys and girls say, and then we'll put together what we believe from your feedback will be the ultimate gunsmith. We'll make a video on that, we'll discuss it, and then all of those options we'll put together in a list and we will send it to Ubisoft and say, this is what people want. This is what must be in the next game. This is the gunsmith we all want. So thank you so much, Sandy, for joining me. Thank you so much for everyone for watching. Keep an eye out. There's loads of new videos coming, especially about what you guys and girls want in the next game. So until then, take care, and we will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.